the idea of a truly independent judiciary system, I have to tell you that it still remains a goal in most of the developing world. I would submit to you that truly independent judiciaries do not exist in most of Latin America today. They're typically appointees, the judges are not truly independent, they're beholden to someone, and so on and so forth. So for us to think that we could truly have an independent judiciary in a post-Castro regime, it's a fantasy, it's a chimera. It's just not going to happen. Not that a parliamentary system is going to solve this, and a couple of lawyers I know would argue that, well, how does that do that? But a parliamentary system offers other characteristics. One of the characteristics that we have had in Cuba and also in most of Latin America is that we have been very impatient with our governments. We elect a government under a presidential system for, I don't know, a 5-year term, a 4-year term, whatever the constitution is, and if we don't like it, we want to change it. So what is the answer? We have a coup d'etat. We have un golpe de Estado. And immediately we break the law and we have a coup. We just got tired of that government. Well, that breaks the law. That does not develop a culture of law. A parliamentary system has the virtue that if you want to change the government every week, go ahead and change it. You have a vote of no confidence and you change the government every week. But you might not be able to govern, that's true, but you know what? At least you're doing it legally. So you begin developing that law culture in the society. The other side of the story also works well, and we're seeing this in Latin America playing out as well. Sometimes our governments, in Cuba, it happened the very first president that we have, Don Tomás Estrada Palma, and it's happening all through Latin America. We see a couple of examples where someone that was elected democratically decides that, you know what, I'm doing such a terrific job, I want to extend my term. I'm termed out, but you know what, I've done 2 terms, but I want to stay longer. So they decide to stay, and then they start trying to change the constitution. We're seeing this with Chavez in Venezuela. We saw it with Uribe in Colombia. Thank God he decided, he's going to obey the law and not run again. Well, under a parliamentary system, if you're doing such a great job, and you got to stay. You don't have to end your term. So, again, I don't approach this in this book to try to convince anyone that a parliamentary system is superior to a presidential system. That argument has been going on for 200 years. I'm certainly not going to solve it in about 20 pages. So my point is, given the Cuban psychic, given the history, is there a case to be made why a parliamentary system that we have never really used in Latin America may be something that will help, that will nudge into better decision-making processes. Another advantage, perhaps, of a parliamentary system is that it really draws a line, if you set it up properly, between the head of state and the head of government. The head of government is the guy that is supposed to make sure that the trains run on time, takes care of the budget and all those kinds of things. And the head of state is the guys that might be involved in foreign policy and so on and so forth. So that distinction may come to play. I also argue about transparency. Again, place yourself in Cuba, a civil society that has absolutely, there's not a Cuban in the island that has ever seen a government budget. They don't exist. They don't see them. They don't know what a budget looks like. A parliamentary system has this virtue. Debate, of course, doesn't exist. Those of us that occasionally might turn in and see a British Parliament debate, it's fascinating to see these guys going at each other, yelling and screaming at each other, and it's really interesting. I would love to see that as a pedagogical tool for the Cuban population. See their politicians fighting on TV, for example. That's something that they have never seen. So, armed, if you will, with these 3 conditions, the civil society, that it is what it is. I have a chapter in the book that the title of it in Spanish is "Carajo, somos como somos." We are the way we are. That's what we get. That's part of what we're going to see. We are the way we are. We are irreverent. We don't pay attention to the laws a lot of the times. We're never punctual, for example, and things of that nature. So we are the way we are. Given that, what kind of policies can we apply? And then taking this nudging, these choice architecture techniques and saying, can we employ this creatively going forward to nudge both the people and those governing into governing better and being better citizens. So that's the architecture, if you will, of the book. Creative, it uses behavioral techniques, it uses psychology, a lot of sociology, and sort of dealing with those issues. Let me sort of stop there and sort of get some feedback and some questions from you guys as to how we can expand on this perhaps.